Hi, it's Pinky Nightwalker back here again, and today I'm presenting to you a short video about one of my favorite pocket knives. It's a Victorinox Huntsman SilverTech. This is one of the Victorinox SilverTech models, and they give it that name based on the outside color of the handle, which is a clear plastic with the silver underlay there, and of course the Victorinox logo. This is a medium size pocket knife. It's a very handy, very versatile knife. Let me show you a few of the features and why I enjoy using this knife and carrying it. Okay, first of all, this knife is made out of plastic, and it appears to be mostly stainless steel. It has a variety of blades and other tools and accessories on it. So let's dig right into that and cover that. First of all, on the outside of the knife, we have a little ring here, and they call this actually a key ring. I personally wouldn't use it for that. I might attach, say, a small piece of string or loop of leather, something like that, and then use that to maybe hang it on a nail at a campsite, maybe a tree branch or something like that, or just put something on it to make it more visible, such as a colored lanyard or something to that nature. Okay, so let's go on a little bit further here. On the outside of this side of the knife is the tweezers. They're a small pair of tweezers. They work very, very well. In a pinch, kind of a joke, in a pinch, these things are good for getting out small splinters or picking up small and delicate items that you might want to maneuver and place into something else if you're working on it at the campsite or at home. On the back side, we have the toothpick, and before you use it, I just want to say make sure it's clean, and after you use it also clean it before you put it back into the holder of the knife. These toothpicks, as well as the tweezers, are something that Victorinox makes available to you, and for replacement you can order them either on one of the big websites or possibly at a local sporting goods store. They may have some of those in stock. They are replaceable, they are cheap, and don't be without them. They work very well. Okay, by the way, just to show you how big this knife is, it looks like to me about 3.5 inches long, and it has a width of about 5/8 of an inch. It's probably around three ounces or so in weight. It's not extremely heavy. It's a little chunky, but it does fit well in average trouser pockets and things like that. And for other carrying, it might enter a purse or possibly a kit for hiking, or even your car dashboard glove box. This is also a very handy item in the car. Okay, let's go and check out the various tools and blades. On this side, we have the full-size knife blade, and this blade here measures, let's see, about 2 inches long, a little over 2 inches. Let me caution you, before you purchase one of these or decide to carry it, check with the local laws in your area where you live, and make sure that this is a legal limit blade. It's also a non-locking blade. So just to be a little careful here in front of the camera, this blade has no locking mechanism. So it's something that should be allowed, I believe, in most areas, but do check it out because the length of the blade is important. It's a very thin blade. It's excellent for slicing. This knife blade is very sharp from the factory, very easy to use, holds a decent edge. And the big thing about these knives from Victorinox is being a medium or softer stainless steel. They can be touched up and made sharp again using simple home sharpening tools. All right, let's close that up and let's move into the front of the knife here. And this here is a combination screwdriver, bottle cap opener, and knife stripper, or I should say wire stripper. This here, you'd put the piece of wire over the edge of it here, leaving enough past it, pinch it with your finger, pull it through, and it will remove the insulation from the wire, and you can connect that up accordingly to a terminal or whatever you have there, some sort of a electrical connection. This flat blade, it's an average size. It's a straight blade for a slotted screw, and it can be used also for light prying and things like that. Don't overdo it. Remember, this is a pocket knife, not a screwdriver, not a pry bar. This side here, we go on and we have a smaller flat tip blade, and this is a screwdriver as well, and it can be used for either smaller slotted screws or the Phillips head screw, which has the sort of X across the top. That can go into one of the X slots and used to turn the screw. Nothing heavy duty, but it could get you through in a pinch, so it's kind of helpful. This edge here and this little hook combine to form the can opener on this knife. This is a little sharp, so you got to be careful with this when you're handling it, opening and closing it. This here has the working action where you hook it over the edge of the can rim, press it through, and cut along like that. This is a good tool to have in the event that you have some sort of can of food and you're camping, and sure enough, the built-in pull tab on the can breaks off. Now what do? Well, you revert back to this, and this will get you your food. So it's a good tool to have on the knife. Let's close that up. In here, we have we have the scissors, and these are really famous. I think that Victorinox makes some of the best knife-mounted scissors in the business, if not the best. These have a real good cutting action. They cut straight and smooth, good for paper, light plastics, things like that. Have something that's not found on most other pocket knives if they're cheaper ones and stuff, and that's the return spring, so that when you cut something, it closes, it opens, and you don't have to keep flicking your finger trying to manipulate this thing and make the process slower or less accurate. These springs are also replaceable. They just push through here on the bottom. There's a little tiny loop that they're put into the handle with. You can take a little finishing nail, push it out and replace it. Again, they're available from Victorinox, and they are not very expensive. Being careful, let's close the scissors down and move on to the, let's see if we can get this out. This is the saw blade, and this is a handy item. It comes very sharp from the factory. Have to be a little careful with it. It's good for cutting wood, heavy rope, that would normally dull another knife, like if you've seen that sort of a hemp type tougher rope, this will saw right through it. Tree branches, it'll notch things. If you have something out in the field that you want to do, this will work in a pinch. It's not made for cutting any kind of metals. You can get away with it fine on plastics and softer woods, but remember, it's something to use until you can get back and get the right type of saw to do the job, okay? But overall, it works very, very well, okay? So keep that in mind when you have a piece of heavy rope rather than, or a piece of like a rubber hose also. This will work just fine, works great. On the outside of the knife, and you can all see it here pretty clearly, is the corkscrew. To the corkscrew, I've added a little small accessory screwdriver that I purchased from Victorinox. It's only a couple dollars. It's a small flathead, flat blade screwdriver. Good if you're wearing eyeglasses. It'll tighten up the temple pieces. The little screws that hold the lenses in place never fails. You're leaving for work or going someplace important and your eyeglasses have something loose. And where do you find a little tiny screwdriver? On your pocket knife. So if you want to get one of those and put that on this knife, this didn't come with it. I bought it separately. I believe I purchased that on Amazon. And again, you get a couple of them in a package and they are very, very cheap. Okay. Over here is something kind of curious. It's a little hard to get at. It's a hook. Over in Europe, this was popular. This is for carrying packages that are wrapped in twine, maybe a cardboard box if you went to the bakery or something like that. The string, you put this across, hold it as such, and this keeps keeps this twine or string from cutting into your fingers and making them sore. It can also be used to pull wire. If the wire is kind of stiff, you can make a loop, tighten it onto the end of this, use your hand, get a good grip, and pull the wire through. So this is kind of an odd item, but it is a handy item. On the same side, we have a little thing sticking out here, and this here is an awl. And this is a little tool. It's a sharp tipped tool with a little bit of a cutting edge here. And for cutting, or I should say drilling, you can actually drill a hole as such in maybe a thin piece of wood. You can keep on working this, pressure, light pressure, and turn it, and you'll make a hole in that. Or in leather or other plastic, it also works great. It's kind of a neat little tool. It's pretty handy. It's also too, you can use it to scrape out maybe something that's stuck in a groove that you have no other way of getting it and you don't want to dull your pocket knife at the moment. You kind of need that. There's a little hole here. That hole is if you put a piece of thread through there, string, what have you, and you can push that through the hole and it'll create a loop, and you pull it and you can then join, say, a couple pieces of paper, or I shouldn't say paper, leather, cloth, or something like that, and you can sort of sew with that. It'll be a little bit of a crude thing, but it might get you out of the woods. So why don't you think about that? It's a very handy tool. Let's see, what else do we have on this knife here? I think we've pretty much covered as many as the things that I can remember. And a lot of these things on this knife are fairly durable. But then again, remember that this is a pocket knife. It's not meant to be a screwdriver for, removing the engine from your car or something like that. This is a light duty tool. It'll give you a lot of service. This is probably one of my favorites. This was a gift to me. I carry it often. I really enjoy it. It's been very durable. It's a very handy knife and easy to use. So with that, I think I've covered pretty much all I can about this knife. And again, Pinky would just like to remind everyone now that where I live, at least, it's cold and it's winter, and your heating system will be running probably fairly frequently, whether it be gas, electric, or whatever type of fuel that it uses. Please make sure that there's nothing close by that would obstruct its action or cause it not to work as well, and then in turn, of course, cause a fire. Pinky would also like for you to check your smoke detectors, check the batteries, test it, see if these things are working. With these cold days coming, the last thing that anyone needs is a house fire. And that could really cause some serious problems. So check out your smoke detectors. There's a little test button on most of them. Try it, see if it works. If it needs batteries, replace them. If that's not the case, if it's one of those sealed units that you replace every few years, replace it. If you can't afford to purchase one on your own, contact your local fire department and they will direct you to the resources where someone or some agency can provide one to you for a very reasonable cost or even free in some municipalities. So please check that out. Well, okay, folks, this is my Victoria Huntsman SilverTech knife, and we'll see what we can bring you the next time. So for right now, Pinky just says have a good day and don't get too cold outside playing in the snow.